What's up, everyone? What's happening? Hold on. Let me turn some music on so we're not just sitting here like idiots.
We're fine without the music.
We're not fine without the music. We're never fine without the music.
Do
you have any idea how unnerving silence is for me?
Sound.
I feel like you're judging me 100% of the time.
As long as they can hear us, that's all that matters. And
What's
Tim
up,
has confirmed
guys? Yes.
that the audio is good.
Storming Thrills, Kaylee, both say sound is good.
Yay!
Hey, Walking with the Woods. Nick, I know how late it is for you, man. Thanks for joining. I'm assuming it's Nick. If it's Claire as well, then welcome both of you. Thank you all for joining. And we've got Chad and Vanessa, or just Chad, very hard to tell.
Sometimes,
the 2 tickets to adventure
sometimes they
account.
split.
Sometimes splits. I tell you what, guys, we're going to be doing a lot of splitting tonight. We're going to be doing a lot of infighting here.
I am feeling better.
Yes.
I got something last week. It did not totally put me out, but it certainly was not fun.
We have had a week, you guys. Yeah. We have had actually several weeks, but we have had like this particular week.
The 2 weeks from the most recent stream were a lot.
Yeah. There was a lot going on, a lot flying back and forth, a lot of family stuff, a lot of sickness. That's why we are so disorganized. If you have noticed, good on you. You have caught us at our worst. Hopefully it only gets better from here. Skate Charlie, what's going on, man? Welcome to the party.
Maybe we'll see you this weekend.
Yes, we are going to Field of Screams one more time. I know the Halloween season is officially over.
For some.
I'm not letting it go. We are going to be going to Field of Screams one last time. We are not going to be vlogging that. So if you are on from Field of Screams or you're familiar with Field of Screams and you know where we're going, just know that we're going to have a fun time. And we hope to see you there. But if not, we will see you next season for sure. And Vanessa's in as well.
Yay!
Hello. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining. I hope everyone had a wonderful Halloween. It was pouring here, at least for the first hour of trick-or-treating.
It wasn't our first Halloween day at Halloween Horror Nights level of pouring.
No, I mean that was Florida rain.
It wasn't heavy, but it was pretty steady. But I have to say, the neighborhood kids were resilient, and they went out there.
The first, I don't know if you guys are following us on Instagram, which by the way you should be.
That transition.
We did post a reel on Instagram just highlighting what we had set up for trick-or-treaters this Halloween season. We worked really, really hard on it. We were actually going to do a video about it that became such a multi-day project that it became really, really difficult to film. And also some of our best work we were doing in our pajamas with wild redheads. So it wasn't our best look, but it did make for a very nice reel, which we put on Instagram to kind of highlight what we had done. And basically what we did was we built this haunted hallway for trick-or-treaters. And then Katie and I dressed up as vampires for Halloween.
Thank you, Spirit Halloween.
The costumes. Yeah, it was 90%. The haunted hallway and the costumes, all together, I think we probably spent 95% of our budget at Spirit Halloween. It was really, really, really good. Check out the reel on Instagram if you haven't. I'll put the link somewhere in the comments or in the description if I remember. But it was really, really cool, and we were really proud of it. And the only thing was, we came to the Halloween night, and trick-or-treating hour was 5 p.m. around us. And of course, it's that's when the rain starts. All day it was threatening to rain, and then right at 5 p.m. when kids start wanting to go out, then it starts pouring. And we're look, we're standing on our balcony with a sign to try and wave people down. We got a fog machine out there. it was looking so good, and then suddenly it was looking awful. And then thank goodness that some parents were brave enough to take their kids out in the rain.
And like teenagers escorting.
Yeah, I mean, there were kids of all sizes. Honestly, by the end of it all, I will say this story has a happy ending. Like by the end of it all, we got literally 10 times the amount of trick-or-treaters we got last year. And it
Which
worked
still
out.
isn't a lot.
It's not a ton because we're in an apartment and a lot
Yeah.
of people don't go to apartments to trick or treat. But the kids in the apartment complex, adjacent the apartment complex, in the neighborhoods near the apartment complex, they know that some people in apartments near us do celebrate Halloween and put out stuff for the kids. So thankfully, we had some visitors and they were in awe. And what really brought joy to my heart is the fact that like kids would come and be like, wow, and then like go get other kids and bring them back. I was like, this is the coolest Halloween ever. So we're definitely going to do that again next year. It was a super fun time. Check out our reel on Instagram if you have not, to see what we did.
Meet the master.
Meet the master, as we call him. And if you're not following us on Instagram or on Facebook, please do join in on the fun. We post all of our stuff there ahead of time for the most part, so you get kind of a heads up of what's happening in our world and what vlogs you can expect on our channel. We have a website too, but it's hardly ever updated. It is our mission, guys. Our mission to catch that website up by the end of this week. Because elsewise, no, I told you it was my mission. I always told you, and I'm sticking to it. I'm committing to it. It's going to be like all at once. You'll see if you're monitoring the website, which by the way, don't, because it's chaotic. But if you're monitoring it, you'll see it go from like 9 to like 25 different posts in like one day, because that'll just be me frantically
typing something up, putting it up there.
So we've been busy. We have been busy, and because of the busyness, the bad news is we will not have a video out this Thursday. But Halloween is officially over. Sad to say, RIP until next year, and we're already planning next year, and moving into the regular season, the holiday season, but not too fast. You know who you are. Not too fast.
Yeah. We respect anyone's.
Do what makes you happy.
Do what makes you happy.
But don't, the holidays are like a solid month away.
You can't drag me into it just yet. I need a pause.
In this middle ground transitional regular season, as we're calling it, whatever's left, we're gonna be doing a couple more live streams. We've got some big announcements coming up, which are gonna be really, really cool. We've also got some off-season events that we're going to be attending, and we've got some travel planned. So assuming nothing goes sideways there, which it always could, which is why I'm not telling anything. I'm not giving you any specifics right now, although some of you do know. We have some big plans ahead. So make sure you're following along with our YouTube channel in particular. Please like, subscribe, all that jazz, so you can be with us on these journeys. But also, if you want to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and the like, we do have presences there that will make us easy to track. So, tonight, we starting fights.
Maybe. I don't know, it did get a little bit, it got a little heated in the chat, I think.
Did. I mean, these are...
Heated, like simmer, a simmer.
Like a nice congregation talking things out in like civil discourse, a very like the mildest possible amount of like hammer throwing and beating down windows and whatnot. So hopefully we'll keep it civil here tonight, but you know how we are as, theme park enthusiasts and coaster enthusiasts. We're very opinionated.
Yep.
So tonight we are talking about Busch Gardens, specifically Williamsburg. I didn't have time, space for that in the title, but Busch Gardens Williamsburg, the Virginia location, talking about all of their I'm done for the night. See you later. Roller coasters, all of their roller coasters ranked. Now, we're not going to go back in time, so don't expect to see Big Bad Wolf on here. This is strictly the lineup they have right now. So if you go to Busch Gardens Williamsburg today, this is going to be very helpful for you, if you've never been especially, in talking about like which roller coasters are, in our opinion, worth your time and which are perhaps less so.
Same with Hershey. Our opinions don't line up with each other either, except for like maybe two things.
For this,
actually,
Hershey Park, when we did do a live like this for Hershey Park and their coasters, and when we did that, we were talking like Katie and I didn't line up at all. I think we lined up on like the very bottom one and like somewhere like number 3 or something random. But this one, our bottom lines up very well, our top lines up very well, and then the mid 4 are like a little bit shuffled. So you guys will see. If you've never been to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, this is going to be a treat. We're going to prep you quite well for everything that's coming. Tim is right. It's Storming
Let's do it.
I missed some comments too, talking about trick or treating.
Yes.
I know you would, Kaylee. We would love to have
We
you.
did have a friend come trick or treat at our house. It was pretty.
Skate Charlie, are you saying it's never too early for the holidays?
I'm pretty sure it's never too early to plan for next Halloween. I think that's when that comment.
That I agree with. That I agree with. I mean, you can. It's never too early to plan for like holiday stuff too, but only planning, not doing. I better not see any Christmas trees up.
No, there's definitely
no Christmas
I know for a fact people have put their Christmas trees up.
I better not see them. Bam. Keep them off Instagram.
My Halloween lights are staying out at least till the end of this weekend.
All right. Are we ready to dive into this?
I think so.
You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We have 9 coaster credits at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. 9.
Right
That's
now.
not a ton. That's not anywhere near as much as Hershey Park's.
No.
And Hershey Park is down a coaster or 2 right now because they're improving one. We're supposed to get a major announcement from Hershey Park tomorrow about their RMC. So we will definitely share whatever
about
we
their
learn
RMC.
about that.
Technically, it hasn't been announced.
It hasn't been announced that it's an RMC, but we know it's an RMC. And also, Storming Thrills has the inside track. Pun very much intended on everything that's going on there, as he is our insider at Hershey Park. So I'm sure he won't even be surprised by the name.
Nope.
Anyways, number 9 at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. These are all going to be consistent, guys.
I hate this ride.
I
hate every ride. What did we say?
Skyrocket
like the
2.
Skyrocket 2 design.
It's an Intamin Skyrocket
I think
2 LSM
Vanessa
launch.
shares the same one. Same opinion as me.
Well, they said not applicable as they've not done Grover. But I bet you it's going to be 8.
Yeah. But like Tempesto, just that, because I think we talked to them about Tigress, which is it's the same exact ride at Busch Gardens Tampa. It's just called Tigress and painted orange instead of blue.
Fun fact, there are like 8 of these models in the world, the Skyrocket 2 models.
You should have put a picture that actually shows, this is the one that is like, it's like a circle and then like a slightly bigger circle outside.
I can do high res or I can do full model. I could do a full model like that big. There's only so many pictures on the internet.
Yeah. Well, does anyone look like they're having fun on that ride? That's my question. Because that's what it. Okay. First of all, actually, it's good
if we're going by who's having fun in the pictures, this is going to be a really rough ride.
So this ride, first of all, you wait forever because the capacity of operations are terrible because it's one train.
It's one train all the time. Like there's only one train on this model.
So operations are terrible. It doesn't matter what park, they're always terrible for it. Then you get on the ride, you shuttle back, and then you launch into the first loop. And then you launch into the second one, which does like or maybe they both do a twist. It doesn't matter. It's over in like less than 30 seconds, and it's 30 seconds of misery. You see that like thing that looks like a seatbelt on between these people's necks. This is supposed to be called a comfort collar. They literally
call it the comfort collar. Well, the thing of it is, it would be comfortable if it were a collar. It's not. Look at the way the harness, this picture, that's what the harness looks like.
Stiff, plasticky rubber that usually rests like right under my ears, and it's just terrible.
Well, the thing of it is, it's not adjustable. It's not like a seatbelt. So it's designed to accommodate bodies of all size, which means the average build or small builds, those things are literally just whacking you in the face back and forth as you're going.
It's hilarious that they say it's going to accommodate like bigger builds, because this is definitely not a larger rider friendly ride, because the seats,
they can ride it.
No, but I'm saying I'm uncomfortable because you have to squeeze. Yes, the chairs are hard. Because it has to make such a tight turn like twice. The seats, the rows are so close together. There's like barely 6 inches. So even if you just are like tall or just have like very muscular legs, it could be very hard to get in and out of that ride. Anyway, I could probably do a whole live stream on why I hate this roller coaster.
I will say in favor of this attraction, although again, our opinion, it's the worst in Busch Gardens Williamsburg. That includes Grover. But not of our opinion and trying to look at it objectively, I could see this being very popular for people who love hang time. Like if
Maybe,
you're all
yeah.
about hang time, and there's different coaster elements that people get really excited about. A lot of people are really big on airtime. I'm like meh on airtime. It's fun part of some rides.
I like airtime.
You really have to, but you really have to get good airtime for it to be quality airtime. I don't like just like popping off the seat and calling it a day. But regardless, one of those elements is hang time, which is where you're basically just suspended, dangling from the coaster. And a lot of coasters will do that 0G, they call it a 0G stall, when you start rolling and then you turn back.
Yeah, but
this is a full roll, but it rolls on
slow,
momentum.
So
it's
slow.
Just like it's at the very top. It's the slowest part of the entire ride. You go up on an LSM launch and then you flip upside down while you're at the top of this oval. And it twists you. Most of the models are like this, I believe, too, because I know that.
I'm pretty sure they're.
I know that Tigris is like
the
this.
Same.
So
the same.
Twisting at the top of the model, it means you've just lost all your momentum coming up, and the only momentum you get is when you make the twist. So turning the car upside down is what allows you to go through that portion.
But the thing is that for example, Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion has like the very first element is like a slow kind of barrel roll. That doesn't bother me at all. 0G stalls don't bother me at all. They're usually pretty fast. You just go woo, and then you're back.
Because I hate it. That's what I'm saying, though. You only on Tempesto and Tigris and others of this model, you're only getting momentum off of your dip. You're not getting momentum off of moving down if it was going down at that element, I think it would be a lot smoother.
Yeah.
However, because you move so slow, the hang time is legit on that portion. Yeah. So I can see people getting really excited about it if they were huge on hang time.
Well,
in which case, just do Mystery Mom and Dollywood.
As we will talk about later, I would say I like hang time done differently. I'll just put it like that. And I appreciate Chad's comment that there is a ride that exists that doesn't have the comfort collars.
Well, I was going to bring this comment up too, because when we were looking into this model and, talking about why we hated it, I did find the one at Lake Compounds. And apparently that's the newest model that exists. And so Lake Compounds said it's like the most expensive investment they ever made into that park, which was a very old park. So it still has the LSM launches, but it's built slightly differently. And if this happens to be the last model ever made, then so be it. But I do want to try it.
I get why they're made. They're a coaster that takes up the smallest footprint you could imagine for a coaster to take up, besides like a true kiddie coaster. But I don't think they're worth it. It's like basically a flat ride. Like I'm uncomfortable.
I'm gonna be real. If I was building a theme park and I was like, how can I get 2 more coaster credits in here without taking up a ton of space? I would look seriously at the Skyrocket 2 and the Boomerang.
I get
which are both terrible ride models, but I would be like, people are gonna ride them no matter what. They're gonna be awful, but people are gonna ride them. So
well, this I will say, I thought about it, and this is the only coaster at Busch Gardens we've only done once, and I will never do again.
I would do it again, but it's not. It's definitely my least favorite.
I will not do it.
Connor!
Hello! Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for dropping in. Raptor?
Is
Raptor a Skyrocket 2 model as well?
Educate us, Tim. I don't know if
Educate us.
I don't know if we're on the same page.
We should probably point out that we've not been to
everywhere.
All the theme parks. We've been to most of the theme parks in Virginia at this point, but Pennsylvania still has quite a few.
There's so many because every time
they're all spread out.
Oh, the single rail.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is.
That sounds familiar now. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you. RMC Raptor, yes.
All right,
check.
As you said, we could go all day on just Tempesto / Tigris. So let's move ahead to another templated model.
Number 8. Grover's Alpine Express is our number 8.
It's not bad.
Guys, for a kiddie coaster, first of all, it's got some theming there. Look at the little Grover hanging out at the front of the ride. It's cute.
It could do with some more. Honestly, if the whole thing was themed like an alpine mountain, I would be like, oh, that would do that every time.
It is. I will say, For a kiddie coaster, I've been on this more than one time. I do it again, especially if, the last time we went, we had our little cousins with us and we all rode it together and it was a fun time. For a kiddie coaster, adults, I would say, fit pretty comfortably. Tim and I can actually sit side by side.
That was actually going to be one of my points against it.
Well,
I am not comfortable on this ride.
So the familiar...
If you have long legs, you're in trouble. If you have a tall torso but short legs, you're fine. To the Woodstock Expresses that everyone has probably seen at like a Cedar Fair park, I like Go Rivers Alpine Express a lot better. So I think it's a good kiddie coaster. It's pretty fun. It's good warm up, especially if you've got got a younger kid that's not quite ready to jump on Invader. Or it is a good. Well, even if you've got like an adult who's not a big coaster enthusiast and perhaps scared of roller coasters, as some of the adults in our own circle are. Yeah. We would often warm up with something like this. As you can see right there,
it takes your picture, so you can get a picture of you and your kid, or you can get if you collect coaster pictures for this credit, and they will let adults ride.
Which is the point. That I was
and because it's a kiddie coaster, usually we don't have to wait that long for it.
It has no quick queue.
Yeah,
so
there's no quick
be aware
queue.
Of that. But it is like, as Katie said, unless you hit it like right as a bunch of adults with kids are walking into Sesame Street Land.
Yeah.
Sesame Street's Forest of Fun. Yeah, it's not really. It's not a hard coaster credit to get.
I will just say, much more pleasant experience than Tempesto.
But since you mentioned Tempesto, I put it away.
They couldn't rank.
Yeah, I was going to say, but that's what I was going to say. If you guys have been to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, feel free to rank along with us because, as we've already said, our opinions are not necessarily going to be your opinions.
Yes, this is
fun.
Just
it's
opinions.
Fun to provide.
It's discussion.
A variance. Number 7.
So this is where we branch off. I think.
It's not.
It's not.
I promise, it's not.
Oh. Boop. Oh, okay. We both agreed on Loch Ness.
All right. So Loch Ness Monster. It's a very pretty ride. That's points in favor. Very, very pretty. Very unique for what it is. Interlocking loop.
Yep.
I think at the time it was built, it was the only interlocking loop coaster in the world, but I think there are more now. But it's the oldest interlocking loop coaster in the world because it was the first. It's also an arrow looper, which you can kind of tell if you've been on a couple of these, you can kind of tell by looking at them. There's not a ton of these left in the world. It's a vanishing brand. So it's a piece of history. And it's not unfun.
No,
I'll say that.
It's quite fun.
It's quite fun. However, reason it keeps going down the list is because every time we ride it, for me personally, it gets a little bit rougher.
It is rough.
It is, and it does you can go and you can maintenance it, you can retrack it if need be, but there's a certain extent to which this type of coaster is just not going to age well.
And I think Busch Gardens has done the two arrows that I think have been the most comfortable to ride for me have been Loch Ness and Super Duper Looper at Hershey Park.
Not Tennessee Tornado?
Oh yeah, Tennessee Tornado was surprisingly not bad either.
Was great.
But a lot of these,
that's my top arrow right now.
A lot of these are just not well maintained.
Anaconda
at King's Dominion is terrible.
That may be the worst roller coaster we've ever been.
Or Steam and Demon, which I think also might be an arrow looper.
It's an arrow. But I think honestly, Anaconda was worse.
Busch Gardens is a beautiful park, and this only gives you a small taste of it. But the views you're seeing,
the views are second to
there's
none.
Coaster. I think we called it Coaster Bay, but it might be actually called Coaster Cove.
It's the Rhine River.
The Rhine River. You can see
interlock.
You can see Loch Ness, Alpengeist, Griffin, and Pantheon all going, and it has potential for cool interactions with those coasters, with people on the Skyway. It is, and you go through a cool tunnel. It's a great ride. It's a good ride for kids who maybe want to get their first, upside down coaster out of the way. So I think it has a special place. And I love the theming for Loch Ness Monster.
I will give one piece of advice for those who have not ridden Loch Ness Monster and are, coming to claim the credit at Busch Gardens. First of all, if you're hunting credits, you probably know what an aero looper feels like, so you won't be surprised. But if you're just going to Busch Gardens Williamsburg as a day guest, you've not, set your mind to hunting down each coaster credit, but you've heard good things about this ride and you really want to do it, just aim for the front row.
Yeah, try to get in the front
further
part.
back it is, the rougher it is. And with a ride this old and this kind of make, the more you're going to feel it in the back. So definitely.
Ooh, Schwartz Cup. Oh, thanks.
I was almost certain that it wasn't an arrow.
Thanks. I don't know
It was a custom make.
everything. I don't know everything. So thank you for telling me. That's why that ride is so good. Because it's not an aero looper.
Points in favor for Super Duper Looper are largely the views.
Loch
Ness. Yes, Loch Ness are largely the views of the park. And Busch Gardens Williamsburg, as Katie mentioned, like everything interlocks. All the rides are on top of each other. They all weave through each other. And so like there's no really bad rides. Truly. Like even Tempesto, I would say, is like not a bad ride as compared to like put it next to any boomerang you've ever been on. It's still a much better ride.
I would rather ride Jolly Rancher.
It gives you better views.
I'd rather ride Jolly Rancher.
Well, Jolly Rancher is it's not applicable. It's a very
You said any boomerang. I chose the one that I like.
Number 6. Before we move on. Layout
Okay.
were designed by Intamin.
Thank you for the coaster facts, people. I don't know everything. I don't pretend to.
Everyone take note of that. Please record it for future reference.
Oh, shush.
Because I will never hear that again with my own 2 ears. Number 6. This is where we diverge.
Okay.
My number 6.
Oh, yeah, you can see Tim's name under the live.
Yeah,
up there.
well, no, it's not. For them, it's not that. See?
Oh, never mind.
So for my number 6 is Apollo's Chariot. Now here's why. Guys, I know Apollo's Chariot is an objectively good ride. I know that. We're into the rankings where like everything is good or better and then best. So like the bottom rung is mostly like meh, but as you get into these, they're all going to be pretty good. So I had to be pretty picky. The reason that Apollo is number 6 for me and not higher up on the list, when I first rode this ride with Katie in 2021, right? We went not in 2020, but in 2021.
March 2021 or something.
April, because we went during.
Oh yeah, we went doing food and wine.
Yeah, it was like my birthday.
Yeah.
Or close to it. So when I first rode this ride, first of all, we had lower capacity, so it was easy to get the seats we wanted. So we went front row because that's how we like to experience most coasters for the first time. So when we went on this ride for the first time, it's a B&M, but it's not an official hypercoaster. However, it does follow the hypercoaster model. The reason it's not an official hypercoaster is because the lift hill doesn't take you up 200 feet. The drop does, however, take you down 200 feet because it drops you into a ravine, which is pretty cool. The ride itself, beautiful views, glorious wind in your hair, several dips, jumps, and pops of airtime, which are really, really fun all the way around. But the first time I went on it, I was like, this is so astronomically good. The only other hypercoasters we've been on that point were Sky Rush, Candemonium, and Hershey Park both. And then Nitro at Six Flags.
We had done Mako.
We had not.
We hadn't?
That was October 1st, 2021.
Oh, I guess we hadn't done Mako.
Katie hasn't slept in a few hours.
Oh.
So at this point in time, this was like a quality hypercoaster. I was looking at it from the hypercoaster scale as like for reference. And I thought it was fantastic. And when we got off, we never went back and did it again that same day. Now it was like a full, probably 6 months. We did come back for Hello Scream in 2021, but it was probably another 6 months or so before we got on this ride again. And the second time I got on this ride, I don't know what it was, guys. Like, it was just like, I could feel the rattle. And Katie swears she cannot, but Vanessa, back me up, because I know you and I have had conversations. It is definitely getting itself a little rattle. And I'm talking like in the front row where we like to ride, I can still feel a little bit of in certain places, certain
I thought Nitro had more rattle than...
I definitely know Nitro was smooth. Nitro was butter for me.
Mm-mm.
So the only reason that this one dropped is because it's not being maintained as well as perhaps it could be. That's for me personally. Like, I just feel like it's It's getting a little bit of rattle, enough so that when you're comparing it to like a butter smooth ride that you have come to expect from hypercoasters, it just doesn't perform as well as other hypercoasters. Having said that, Katie's ranking is different here.
Yes.
Connor also loves Apollo's Chariot.
Woo!
I like it, Connor. I do. I like it. But if I had to choose between this and anything in my top 5, I would always go for the top 5. Chad and Vanessa say that Verbolten is their number 6.
Number 6.
Yeah, Apollo's is also one of the earliest models.
Yep.
The earliest model. I'm so glad everyone knows more than we do.
Yes, that's why we like having
this
people...
should be a very ill-informed live stream.
This is why our opinions are great, because we don't have to do research on our opinions.
It's like being a dermatologist. I just say, I don't know, your skin looks itchy.
That literally is what dermatologists do. No, I'm kidding.
So I'm going to flip over to your number 6,
number
and
6.
then we can debate them both.
So my number 6 is Invader, which is their only wooden coaster. I think it just celebrated its like 5-year anniversary or something like that. So it's relatively new.
It's the 3rd newest ride in the park.
Yeah. So it's still pretty new considering just the history of Busch Gardens in general. I will say points in favor of Invader. Awesome theming. The front it looks like a Viking
and the
fortress.
The queue is awesome too.
You look for the details, like the arrows sticking out of like it had just been ambushed. The queue, it has great music. The like pre-ride videos all have like Vikings in it.
It does have music on dispatch too, which
and
is
it
nice,
does have,
especially for a wooden coaster. I think that's a very rare thing.
It's a really fun ride. I do like some woodies, but I don't go for it. We don't go for it a lot. We find ourselves if it has a bit of a weight, and we don't have quick queue, we usually just don't do it. So I don't feel like it's become like a must do for me every time I'm there, but it is fun. We last rode it again with my cousin who was really getting into coasters that day.
That's for Apollo's Chariot.
Yes, I know what she's talking about.
Well, I just wanted you to know that I'm not crazy.
I think compared to some of the other, I guess I'll just say like some of the steel coasters that they have, it's just not as comfortable of a ride for me, but I still think it's really fun. And people look like they're having fun on the ride.
People do have fun on the ride. People die at the fair. So interestingly, 2 posts from the same account under 2 tickets. We got 6 for Verbolten, and then we got 6 for Alpengeist. I'm assuming this is split between Chad and Vanessa.
Well, maybe but Verbolten was matched up with. Oh, they might think we're on the next number. I don't know.
But it says
whatever. I mean, Chad and Vanessa might have differing opinions.
That's what I just said.
Oh, well, I don't know.
I said we had a week. I meant it. It's been a week.
It's been rough. It's still rough.
Now, having said all of the above about all of the above, our number 5s are literally the reverse.
Yeah. So Tim says number 5.
So my number 5 is Invader, and Katie's number 5 is Apollo. And the reason that my number 5 is Invader is because, for all the reasons Katie mentioned, namely the theming, but also because the ride itself is like genuinely thrilling. It's not, I mean, I think my favorite wooden coaster so far is Thunderhead at Dollywood. My second favorite is a very, very, very narrow margin between Invader at Busch Gardens Williamsburg and Twister at Knoebels, which is very unpopular opinion to have at Knoebels because everyone loves Phoenix, but I'm more about the drops than the airtime. Invader has great drops. One really solid drop that keeps you going for the rest of the ride on momentum alone, but then it whips you around the turns like crazy, like you're flying down the highway, but the highway's made of wood. Yeah. And I think, in addition to all the theming and whatnot that's going on there, I think it's just it's the full package. Like, it's a really good attraction for all ages. There's no one who couldn't ride this ride. I think it is like we weren't able to get our youngest cousin on the ride because
he was tall, so he's a tall 5-year-old.
Yes.
So he's
but he
got
was a 5-year-old.
He's got like the body of like maybe a 6 or 7-year-old.
So he was getting ready to get on, but he did. I mean, looking at the lift hill, he did get intimidated, and I was like, so that's why I'm like, for the younger crowd, like this is a good entry level, but be aware that it is a little bit more.
I think it's also. I mean, Woodies are really loud, so I think it may have also been like the sound that may have intimidated him. But I know this. I know my cuz will probably get on it next year. Like he'll do it, and his older brother was doing it. So, but yeah, I think it's a good time, and it is another, like Tim said, it's I can't remember the height requirement for it, but definitely like younger kids can ride it, and it's a Woody. There's no inversions or anything like that.
Other Tim from Storming Thrills was in our
Dark Nights
Hershey Park Dark Nights vlog. If you guys haven't seen that, definitely check it out. It was a pretty awesome event. We didn't do any coasters while we were there, so it's not directly relevant to what we're talking about, but it was an amazing event, and totally we'll be doing it again next week.
Yeah.
In the meantime, yes, Twister is awesome.
I like Twister too.
Vanessa says, didn't make a ranking, but for Bolton is 10 or 11. Love the theming, ride it once each trip, but get extremely sick on it. Yeah, there is something
that'll ruin it for you.
We will talk about Verbolten. You guys must have noticed we haven't hit Verbolten yet because it's fairly high up in our own ranking. But
so this is Chad then. Okay.
Jumping ahead.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about why Apollo's on?
Well, I mean, I first of all, I don't feel the rattle. I never have. Like the first time Tim got off and was like, man, it's really showing its age. I was like, what are you talking about? So I don't know why I don't feel it. I'm usually pretty sensitive to.
I was gonna say you're the one who feels all like the turbulence on airplanes and whatnot.
I don't know.
I can just like
when we were there with my cousin for my birthday, I think we rode this. This ended up being his favorite. I think I rode it like 5 times in one day and had
I rode it twice in one day, even though I was like meh about it because I was so excited that the young cousin was so excited, and I was like, oh, we have
a new coaster,
an enthusiast.
We have a coaster convert.
We have a coaster.
But you can't tell from this. But first of all, the views from this ride are spectacular. The dive like down to like the coaster cove is unmatched. I really think
that specific point in the ride where you go down near the water.
It's so close to the water. Cool. Lots of good airtime. I think they're taking care of it for it being the first B&M.
I'm not saying they're like trashing it. I'm just saying it's not. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite ride styles. I love the clamshell lap bars that B&M makes. It's just cozy and comfy, and I love it. And terrifying night ride because there is no lighting around you, and you're just flying into the darkness.
You know, I've not done it in the dark in a while.
It was.
I will say
really
that
fun.
We've not done. We only did the night ride at Hollow Scream 2021. We didn't do it in 2022. So.
Yep.
I will have to go back.
That's why I like it. Hopefully, I won't ever feel this so-called rattle. I'm not saying I don't believe you guys. I just don't know why I can't feel it.
She's saying we're crazy.
I'm not saying you're crazy.
She hates us and wants us to die.
No. Shut up.
Number 4. We also have some variants here, but it's very slight. My number 4 is Alpengeist. So the reason behind this is a B&M suspended, and if you've been to Hershey Park, as I know many in the chat have, it's a very similar attraction to Great Bear. What's different is the number of whips, dives, and loops in this mangled little layout. You think scale?
It's just bigger.
I don't think it is bigger. I think the amount of track, it might be slightly bigger, but I don't think it's like massive as compared to Great Bear.
I think your dive, not dive,
it is
your first downhill slope is
so there is theming to this attraction as well. It's hard to make out from this picture, but during the queue, so it's themed to like a skiing adventure down an Alpengeist. And what you're doing as you're boarding is you're looking at the ski lodge, and they're like got equipment mounted on the wall and skis and like cold mountain peaks all around. And it's super, super fun to be in the queue. And then once you get on the ride, you're basically being chairlifted up to the top of the lift hill. And as you're on your way down, which by the way, we always yodel on the way down. I want that to be a trend. Everyone start doing it. On the way down,
yodel, but
you suddenly lose control of your skis and you just go all over the place. And
if you picture like the Matterhorn bobsled music playing while you ride the ride, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. It weaves in on itself. So it twists, it bends, it's got a lot of very thrilling elements. And here's the thing about Alpengeist. When I started with Alpengeist in 2021, during our first visit, I was like, that's a pretty good ride. But every time I've ridden it since, it's gotten better. Like every single time I get on Alpengeist, I get off being like, that was even better than last time.
We got off at one time and we were like, what happened? Like that was really shaky. But then the last time we got on it, I was like, that was the greatest ride on Alpengeist
they
ever.
did do a lot of work on it in late 2021. So when we went back for Hello Scream in 2021, it was closed. And when we went back in March of 2022, we were able to get on it. It was a completely different ride.
Yeah.
So when we got off of it in March, I was like, wow, they did a really good job. When we got off of it in June, I was like, holy moly, what a ride. That was insane. Now, mind you, the longer this ride has to warm up over the course of the day, I think the better it runs.
Yeah.
So like by the time you get off, if you go for a night ride on Alpengeist, you get off like, where did the world go? I need the horizon line immediately.
Especially if you're not in the front row and you just can't see what's coming. But oh my gosh, it's still a lot of fun.
I agree.
And also, Tim made a great comment. There we go. Yes. Skyrush, I love that layout. I know we talked about this with Hershey Park, but they need, like, Intamin needs to put whatever harnesses and lap bars they did for Velocicoaster on Skyrush. And then it would be probably...
It's not as easy as just, like, flipping a switch there.
I know. It would require the ride to close, and then they'd have to test it.
Months!
Yes, but then we wouldn't get
if not the whole
Rush.
year, which we lost Skyrush for a whole year almost because the cable snapped.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
That was a bad piece of
press
maintenance
for
failure.
Yeah.
Not because of anything that went wrong, just because it was like it was
an accident.
Sometimes stuff happens. No one was hurt, but people got stuck on the lift hill for a while.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, like that nothing went wrong with Skyrush. It was just it needed some maintenance, so it went down for an extended period. Yeah. So we're saying it shouldn't go down for another year just to switch the clamshells out. But if it did, it would be a much more enjoyable ride.
I just think they need to, like, I don't, if anyone knows if there's another Intamin ride that has the same exact, like, harnesses as Skyrush, I'd love to know, because I feel like they made it and they were like, that wasn't a good idea. And then they've done it differently.
Well, they felt like that because we told them that. Like everyone on the internet.
And now they just, I mean, I guess it's not up to, I mean, I guess if Hershey said, please fix this, they would, but it's probably up to Hershey to do it.
So back to Alpengeist.
Well, it's only 42 minutes and we're on number 4.
The one thing about Alpengeist is, we have more to get. The one thing about Alpengeist is, and any B&M suspended really, is that if you're not in the front row, you have a really hard time seeing everything. Mm-hmm. Having said that, we have been in the back row for Alpengeist as well, and that in and of itself is also a wild ride. That
felt like a different ride. We were in the back.
It was so a little bit of a
intense.
It
was
so
intense.
It was like being in a blender. So if you're, prone to motion sickness, as I know some people in the chat are, it would probably not be advisable to do a back row ride on Alpengeist. However, front row ride on Alpengeist, very thrilling. You get to see everything. You can keep track of the horizon line. Much more fun.
Except if you're Tim, who always does them in the back for the forces.
Some people are diehard back row riders. I am a diehard front row rider. I don't think there's very, very, very few rides where I'll be like, let's jump in the back.
Let's do the back.
Water rides, mostly. Your number 4.
My number 4 is for Bolton. This ride, so disclaimer, I never rode Big Bad Wolf, so I'm not gonna compare it to that and say whether it was worth the destruction of Big Bad Wolf.
Tragic, because Big Bad Wolf as a model is pretty much gone from. And there's one, I think it's Six Flags Magic Mountain
that's
Vanessa
similar.
Vanessa and Chad.
Vanessa and I. When did you go to Magic Mountain?
I wish I'd been to Magic Mountain.
So this ride, obviously, you can tell, super super cute. And it goes like from outside the queue all the way through the queue into the station, it's kind of like a Autobahn German car race. And then you go into the Black Forest, which is a cluster, and there's
nothing that can prepare you for the Black Forest. You can watch a million.
But I
different
also can understand
POVs
why Vanessa says she gets too ill on it, because you do kind of like, if you picture like Rock and Roller Coaster, like shooting into the darkness, and you're doing like some pretty tight turns and stuff, and it's very hard to see, and you may not be able to like pick out your horizon line and stuff like that. Which thankfully my body still accepts and is okay with it. But if you're not, I totally understand why. Then what's also really cool about Verbolten is you have a potential for like 3 different slightly different ride experiences. They have
show scenes. They
have a show scene once you finish the inside portion before you get launched back outside. And one is a I don't mind. I'm just jealous that I wasn't there.
You would have liked Magic Mountain.
I probably would. You have the Witch of the Woods, which I think is my favorite, although I do like the wolves. There's the wolves, and then there's like the dark forest, right?
I like
just
the wolves
haunted
best.
Forest. So, very cool. Very cool. And it's fun to go through and collect. Yeah.
I figured that would be the perfect transition.
I was like, should I mention the drop track?
Listen, we're revealing some things about the parks and the rides that you might not know otherwise.
After the show scene, there is a drop track, and no matter how many times you've done it, just like at Hagrid's, you're never ready for it.
Well, that's the thing, though. That's why I like the wolves best, because I've got it mentally timed out with the wolf. When I have the wolf show scene, I've gotten that one enough that I know exactly on which crack and how it's gonna.
You're a freak like Tim, you don't know when it's coming.
Well,
and then you shoot out. Sometimes into the sun, sometimes into the darkness. You go down, you take the big drop from the covered bridge down to the water. It's a great themed ride. It's one of the rides that I think like Busch Gardens did so well. Like they went all out with the theme. And in case you didn't catch on, the like wolves in the woods kind of paid tribute to Big Bad Wolf. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool.
Well, also just the Black Forest.
If I do feel like this ride is maybe 10 years old now, I think it's showing its age a little bit. I do feel like a little bit jerked around sometimes. And honestly, I think my ride experience on like Apollo's Chariot for me is usually better than Verbolten. But I had to give it up for the theming and the drop track and just everything else. So it's definitely in my top. I guess we're in the top 5 now, so the top 4.
Yeah, it was our top 4.
Yeah.
Our number 3s, can you guess? Flipped.
Yep.
Which is why I reserved my comments on Revolt, because I knew I was going to have the opportunity to talk about it. Why it's my number 3. So all of that Katie just said, plus this is by far the best night ride I've ever been on. Because Katie said, like, when you go shooting out either into the sunlight or the darkness. So just bear in mind when you get on this ride, first of all, it has mounted headlights. So it's very much like Hagrid's in that regard. It's multi-launch. So first of all, I love my LSM launches, but multi-launch across the entire course as you're going down into the forest, which is a literal forest before it becomes a fake forest. You are being guided by the car's headlights. It has like the revving engine sound, although it's a little bit harder to hear if you're not in the front row, but it does have all of those effects, all that theming. And then as you go into the Black Forest official, if you're doing this at night, if you're doing this during the day, you can see the big blue building coming up at you. If you're doing this at night, it's pretty well clipped. It's not invisible to the naked eye, but it feels much more immersive at night. And not to mention all of the effects in the building, the show building, where you do all those weaving and the drop track and the different show scenes. All of that during the day, it does have a kind of, even if you can't see it, it is degraded.
Well, it's also like your eyes just can't adjust that quickly, so you're a little disoriented. But if it's already night and you're shooting into the night, it's kind of like walking into Haunted Mansion at night. You're like, oh, I'm not disoriented.
Right. There's blacklight bioluminescence inside the building for all of the track that's weaving around, and at nighttime, I think it feels much less like Rock and Roller Coaster and much more like the Mummy.
Yeah, I'd say
Portland.
that's probably better.
Like dropping through and all the sets are working. There's no fog, which I think would be a great thing to add
Would be
personally.
pretty cool, actually.
But going through all like the trees and whatnot and getting real close to certain props and elements as you're weaving in, and then you pull into the show scene, everything's perfectly lit. You drop down and then you shoot out into what's usually the cold night air to some extent or another. It's just such a thematic
great golden
package.
hour ride too, honestly.
I would say night. I'd say this one, if you can only do this one time in the day, do it at night.
Or one time on your visit, do it at night.
One time on your visit, yes. But I would also say that this does, for that reason, and because I'm not the only one that feels this way, it does get longer lines at night. So if you don't have quick queue, just plan. It's worth it. It's worth, I would say, up to probably about a 30, 40-minute wait. Any more than that, I would say you might want to just be looking at quick queue ahead of time and see if it's worth it to you. But it is one that you should not leave Busch Gardens Williamsburg without doing.
Yeah. Give it one try. Hopefully it doesn't make you feel too bad.
I have not been on Cosmic Rewind at Epcot, and we're still trying to stay spoiler free, but we've managed to get side-eyed by a couple of promos on Facebook and whatnot. You know the ones. So I would say that if you can handle Cosmic Rewind and everything that's going on with the Guardians at Epcot, you could definitely handle this. But I don't know. Everyone's different. So
we haven't been on both, so we can't tell you that.
We'll see. Yours.
My number 3 is Alpengeist. That's a cute picture.
Seen here with elves.
With elves. So I think I'll pull this up because I think Tim said it. Yeah. So if you remember from or hadn't seen, spoiler alert for our Hershey Park coasters rank, I love Great Bear. So I think it just makes sense that Alpengeist is ranked pretty high.
Alpengeist is Great Bear Plus.
It is. I do think it's better than Great Bear. It's more intense. Like I think
better themed.
It's got Hershey kind of phoned in. How do I make it go away? Oh, thank you. Hershey kind of phoned in the theming on Great Bear. Like it's just like named it and that's it. And B&M inverts are known for like that very classic kind of roaring sound anyway, so it does fit. But Alpengeist, Tim mentioned it's well themed. I don't know if he mentioned that like if you're sitting in the second or any row with people in front of you, can see little skis in front of you, so that kind of adds something. There's snow caps, there's a like covered bridge you go through, and it is honestly like any time of year. This obviously is probably in like their like Christmas season or whatever, but beautiful.
But it's very cold.
We did do
Alpengeist in the cold once, and that was
I mean,
bitter
honestly,
ride.
any coaster that goes fast enough in the cold is kind of miserable.
Yes,
to me.
But Alpengeist moves at such speeds late in the day that you do feel every degree of that colder temperature.
Anyway, as I said, it's like Great Bear Plus. If you like Great Bear, I think you'll love Alpengeist. And I think the last ride we did on Alpengeist, which wasn't even in the front row, we were like towards the back, I think. We got off that ride and we were like, oh my gosh, that was I think it took my breath away. I had like so much fun. It was so thrilling. So love that ride. I never want it to go away.
I don't think it will. I think it's a very popular attraction. It's almost never a walk-on, although we did walk on it one time. Because people didn't know it was there until late in the day.
Yeah. Awesome. I love this ride.
Number two.
This is where we line up.
This is where we start lining up again. Yeah. So Katie and I have the same number 2 and the same number 1. And if you guys know us, you might be able to guess.
Well, if you know the rides, you know the last 2 we haven't talked about yet.
Yes, but you also might know where they line up. Bada boom! Pantheon,
the newest coaster.
Let's start with the cons and then go to the pros. The con of Pantheon is that it's so freaking fragile. Like the wind will shut this thing down. It's right,
sensitive child.
It's right on the edge of the bay, very near Apollo's Chariot. Actually, it's literally across from Apollo's Chariot in the actual lot. But it also runs along the same piece of the bay. So, what's a river? Not the bay. Coaster Bay.
Well, we call it Coaster.
Coaster Bay.
I think I called it Coaster Cove because it had 2 skis. But anyway.
But anyway.
Alliteration.
Pantheon will be shut down by winds the same speed as those that will not shut down Apollo's Chariot. It is by far the most sensitive ride in the park. And I
they
think
decided to build it in like this open field by the water.
Right, which is beautiful when it works. When it works, it is a beautiful view. But it like during its opening year, we went to Busch Gardens 3 different times hoping to get on it. We didn't get on it until the 3rd time.
Yeah.
And not even until the last hour of the 3rd time. Like it was really, really finicky. And they will just close it randomly at certain points in the day. And it's not even the ride op's call. It's like the equipment of that associates with Pantheon. It will shut it down. And it will only allow you to do it after the wind speed drops to a certain threshold. And then they run 3 empty trains.
Yeah.
So there's like a 20-minute, I think Chad and Vanessa were the ones that told us there was like a 20-minute reset interval. So
Once it
every
goes
time the wind picks up, and then it drops back down again. You're waiting for the wind to calm down, and then you're waiting for the 20-minute reset cycle after the wind calms down. So it's very, very finicky. Having said that, and having been frustrated by it several times, and it getting just gradually lower and lower and lower and lower on our ranking, it started to go back up and up as soon as we got on it for the first time. It's honestly one of my favorite videos we've ever put together. Was a stupid little 5-minute video.
We
of our
finally
first
rode
ride.
Pantheon.
We finally rode Pantheon. It was such a unique experience. Number one, it's not now because Icebreaker is open and it's basically the baby Pantheon at SeaWorld. But when we first rode this, we had not ridden anything like it. To my knowledge, I don't think I have anything to compare it to. And
everyone compares it to Velocicoaster, but
I don't see
feels
it
so different.
I don't see it. Well, because they both opened similar time and were made by the same manufacturer.
Right, and they both are like, I understand, like, if you want to say, like, yeah, they both have launches, but I think, like, compared to Velocicoaster, I can't really compare it. Also, I'm sorry I'm diverging. The ops are slow because of it's like maximum 2 trains, right?
3.
Because
it can run 3 trains.
It can run 3,
but
okay.
it's not optimized at 3.
No. They phoned
Disagree.
The back row made me like anxious.
Back row,
ride.
you
I
can
don't know.
feel. First of all, the back row, for people who love the back row to begin with, you know that it's more intense than the front row.
Usually.
But in the front row, you get the smoothest possible ride. And this is one ride that I would like, you can really feel the speed with like the streamlined size and the way the coaster flies through the track.
The benefit of the back row is you get further up the spike, which normally I would be like, woohoo, but I don't know. I like the front row on this one.
We are more front row people.
And it is beautiful to watch. It is fun to listen to as well. These LSM launches, they have like a kind of loud purring or roaring.
We should describe
sound.
the layout for anyone who's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this is like.
Well,
coaster,
that's why I was
this
like.
Is like top coaster knowledge already.
Yeah.
So the layout of Pantheon. You come out of the station and you ease into a little switchback wibble wobble, which is just to like kind of warm you up and loosen you up, and then you dive bomb right into an LSM launch that does a 0G roll. Like right out of the gate. Then you turn around and you go up to another LSM launch with a little airtime hop in it, which gets you most of the way up the top height of the ride. It's a top hat, and it gets you most of the way up, but doesn't quite give you enough momentum.
It's designed to roll back.
Designed to roll you backwards. So you roll backwards down, you pick up another burst of LSM speed going the opposite direction, which sends you up a spike. There is nothing on the end of the spike. So you go up the spike and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then you go back down the spike, pick up a third boost of that same LSM fin and clear the top hat. The rest of the ride is basically just roll, switchbacks, 1-0G stall, and then you're back at the station.
So
it's a pretty long ride.
It's long, but it's not that long. I think it's shorter compared to like.
It's about 3 minutes 20 seconds according to my video.
Maybe I don't know. It feels shorter than that sometimes. The other thing I wanted to say about Pantheon is they've completely phoned in the theming on it. Like,
yes,
the level of like the advertisements and everything, like, and what Busch Gardens has been capable of doing with other rides like for Bolton and Pompeii and basically a dark castle, which is now going to be DarKoaster. Like the level of theming that they're capable of. We know it was built mostly in 2020, and there was probably budgetary constraints, but some rock work, some, I don't know, columns or something would have been cool.
Well, as you said, this was in mid-construction in early 2020, and God bless them for continuing to build throughout the pandemic once it was clear to resume, which is something that Disney did not do, and which is why we still don't have Tron 2 full years after its scheduled open date. Almost 3. But Pantheon, for what it is a very, very fun ride. It's just that it is lacking in theming, where you can tell that they got most of the way down the rabbit hole and maybe even started to consider, what if we put like a rock formation here, a rock formation there, which would have really, really helped it. Instead, they were like, let's just focus on the ride experience and we'll get to theming later. And I don't know if they ever will.
I don't think they will either, because they have to stop the ride.
Yes, but it's for what it is, it's a very good ride. I just think that, like, compared to, as Katie said, what Busch Gardens could have done theming-wise, it's kind of a disappointment in that regard. Now, having said that, one of the best, smoothest, fastest, funnest rides we've been on. Definitely one. It's a fantastic night ride. It's not better than Revolton in terms of just the raw night ride epicness, but it is like the fastest, funnest night ride.
And we just missed doing a fireworks ride on it by like a minute
I was so mad. I was so not because we didn't get in line at the right time, but because it broke down twice on our way to the front. And like the train before us got a fireworks ride, and we did not. And I was like,
and for the record, like Busch Garden fireworks last like 7 minutes. They're not Disney fireworks. They go off, and 7 minutes later they're over. So if you missed that window, you missed that window. But
regarding back row ride on the spike. Yeah,
I did not like the back row going over the spikes feeling.
I don't care. I don't mind the stomach dropping sensation. I love the drops.
I like it in the front row. I didn't like it in the back row as much.
I think I kind of like dig that feeling. I don't know why. I know a lot of people hate it, but
I mean, obviously I don't hate it because of what my number one ride in this park. I don't know. I liked front row on Pantheon.
On our follow-up question, do we think this is the perfect length ride, or do we wish it was a little longer? I definitely wish it was a little longer.
I wish it was longer, yeah.
But I think that for what it is and for the amount of time the construction took and whatnot, and honestly, the layout of the track and how compact it is relative to bigger, broader coasters, I think it's pretty good length.
It definitely is not. I don't think it's the perfect length ride, but I don't think it's too short.
I don't think it's an accident that this was placed right next to Tempesto either. I think that you get off Tempesto and you're like, man, I just wasted a whole half hour. Gosh darn it. And then you walk across the Pantheon and you're like, whoa, that was rad.
Yeah. I have to say, since I had been mentioning him, we did get our cousin on Pantheon. He was unsure, and then he went on it, and I think that was really when the love of coasters blossomed in him, because he got off that ride and was like, that was so cool.
It's also,
and he's like 10.
For the time being, it's a record holder, right? It's the fastest multi-launch coaster in America, if not the world. So that's not going to stay for long. I mean, there's plenty of coasters that are planned to displace it in the next year, but in the meantime, it was cool for him to be able to get off it and be like, wow, I can't believe I just rode the fastest multi-launch coaster in the world. Literally, he said that at 10 years old.
He's
so
a very smart kid.
It's a fun coaster.
I'm glad it's there. I really am.
On number one.
It sounds like we're on the same page as Chad, too, with our number 2s and number 1s.
I think so, yeah.
I think so.
But, boom!
Aha! Griffin.
It's just the complete package, man.
My
it's
very first dive coaster.
We've only done 2.
Yep.
So there's all that's available to us. Now, talking about Hershey Park, by the way, and Tim, you can pass this along to your supervisors. If we got a dive coaster at Hershey Park, we would only ever go to Hershey Park. Like, that would be the coaster lineup.
Well, especially because we're going to be getting an RMC.
Exactly.
If we have an RMC, a dive coaster, a B&M Hyper, a B&M Invert.
They will have everything.
Like, they pretty much have everything I could ever want.
Only thing I could possibly think of them adding is like a themed, like, Space Mountain-y type ride.
Because dives don't have to be like 200 plus feet.
What they should be.
But Hershey's limit is like a certain amount. Oh, is one coming?
One maybe, come on.
He said,
I know.
he tried, okay. He got it eventually. I know the struggle of typing too fast.
I just like drawing attention to typos because I send a lot of them.
Anyway, Tim, if that's true, that is awesome. I would lose my mind over it. Dive coasters. So speaking of like that, we talked kind of hinted at like that stomach drop feeling or like the hang time. I know it does. It absolutely does.
I'm just trolling you, man. We love you.
I empathize. Anyway, this is actually one of the first pictures Tim picked that actually kind of shows the ride layout. Actually, can they see my mouse?
No. Stop assuming that this is
to the right of this picture, the lighter blue coaster is actually part of Alpengeist, but the darker blue track is Griffin. So you go up this lift hill, you make kind of a hairpin turn, and then you can kind of see behind the tree lines that almost what feels like, but is not quite like a 90-degree drop.
It is 90. It's beyond 90.
Okay, well, from that you can't see the bottom of it, I don't think. So you're it's a very kind of unique layout where you're in like rows of like 10, I think, and depending on the dive, sometimes they have 3 rows, sometimes they only have 2. It depends on which park.
You're looking, so when you're talking about it doesn't look like it, you're looking at the second drop right there. The first drop is off in the far right corner.
Okay, yeah, that was like that does look shorter, but it's
still
like this. It's similar, like
I think physically. It's either 205 or 215. I can't remember, but it's a designated hypercoaster because of its height, and it's also a dive coaster because of its unique.
But you come around that hairpin turn and you hang there for it's not long. It's like 10 seconds. It might even be less than that. I honestly don't know, but then you drop, like it just lets you go and you fall. And I swear this is yes.
Then we won't even have to go to Cedar Point. I'm kidding.
We still have to go.
We gotta go for Steel Vengeance.
But we don't have. But we don't have to feel like we won't feel like we're that far from the coaster capital anymore. Anyway, I think Griffin is very appropriately named because I do think it is the closest I've ever truly felt like I was flying in a coaster. And I've been on like actual flying coasters before. Manta was pretty good at SeaWorld. It was pretty good. But Griffin,
I think for people who are afraid of heights, Griffin is like the closest thing that they will ever like that is like the most terrifying sensation that you can ever feel on a roller coaster is being suspended over the edge, especially if you're on the wing of this. There's like, as you can see, this is a very unique train. It's got like 12 seats across and 3 rows, and there's like 3 seats in the dead center on the rails that have like something to catch them if they were to fall out of the harness. Not that you're going to fall out of the harness.
I don't even know why you would say that.
But I'm just saying, like, for this, for people who are afraid of the scenario.
We have a relative who doesn't like to ride anything that their feet like can't touch. So inverts and leg dangly things are kind of.
So we put them on the center of the track, and that made them feel more stable getting on the ride. But on the outside of either like the 3 in the middle, so 9 on either side. Well,
no, I think it's 10 across.
Potato.
I think it's 10.
I didn't count the seats before we did this presentation. There's wings on either side. You can get on either side of that row, and did you just
I counted.
Go up to count the seats?
Yes.
All right, so there's seats in the middle where you don't have to dangle, and then on the either side you have wings that jut out where you were definitely dangling. And if you sit as far out as possible on one of those wings, another cool element, by the way, is that you go through the mist that you create by dipping into the bay. You're not actually physically dipping in with the train, but along either side there are jets that shoot water to give the appearance that you are. And when you come,
because you're supposed to look like a bird going down into the water.
And when you come back, you sweep through the mist you've created. On the outside, you catch all of that. But more importantly, on the first drop, there's 2 drops. The first drop in particular, you look down and there's like nothing between your feet and 200 feet below. And it's like the coolest, most terrifying sensation if you're a coaster head. Like just feeling like you're about to spread your wings and soar. And then you do, it just drops you. And then you do feel like you're flying all the way through. And if you put your arms out like this, You'll probably hit the person next to you, but it'll be totally worth it because
Yeah.
you'll be able to be like, I'm flying.
And if you loved that dropping sensation, you do get to do it again. So that is the first drop. That's the second one right there.
That's what I said.
Oh,
The
wow.
first drop is on the right.
Yeah,
The
that's
second
what I was
drop-
saying. I was saying the one behind the trees. You're making me think like I was crazy. Anyway.
You are crazy, but not always in the way I suspect.
Anyway, then you get to do the drop again. It's not as dramatic, but you do it again, and you do these big sweeping inverts and like this one like kind of corkscrew. And because you're in such a wide train, everything is very dramatic. Nothing is too tight. It's just comfortable. It's fun. I mean, Chad and Vanessa can say why they like it too. I have a feeling.
We have many
Maybe-
good stories about Griffin.
Yeah.
Griffin is the one attraction that no matter how many times we go to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, I'm always excited to do again.
Yeah.
When I'm in the car getting close to the park, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to get on Griffin again. Now it does have the longest wait, and the quick queue, I will say for this one, is not organized particularly
So
well.
confusing.
Well, it's different every time, but also every time, the one thing that is consistent about the experience is that it funnels you into the loading bay for all 3 rows. And you can pick which row, but once you pick your row, for example, if you pick the front row where you get the best view, you still have to do a bunch of switchbacks in the front row line to be able to board the ride. That makes sense for monitoring capacity while allowing people to get the seats they want. However, it doesn't really justify the use of quick queue. Unless it is a very, very, very long line, you're only going to skip about half. And sometimes you're not going to skip any.
Yeah.
Because it'll just feed you into that main loading bay.
Yeah.
So, but
I'd
other than that,
say-
that's the only downside I can think of.
As of like the
Griffin.
past trip we went on, we have done first, second, and third row, and this is definitely a first row ride. You get the most dramatic, like, hang time for the drop. I'd say if you don't want to wait for front row, maybe go third row. But I think it's worth a wait for a first row ride.
I will say there are several dive coasters around the world. This just happens to be the one closest to us.
Yeah.
But
like, I think
in
Vanessa,
terms of-
she just said Valraven. So that's
Yeah,
another dive.
at Cedar Point. But does Valraven have the views? Because it
Well,
is
Cedar Point's got beautiful views.
Cedar
You're
Point-
surrounded by the water.
Cedar Point has the lake around it, but it also is cement and concrete.
Speaking of SheiKra, we did get to do SheiKra.
Only at Dite.
We can't do a ranking Tampa coasters yet because Tim hasn't. Actually, I haven't either. We haven't ridden all of them yet. So one day we'll ride all of them. And
Some
we'll
of them
rank
we may
those.
not be able to
But
by the time we go
SheiKra was
back.
closed. It was scheduled to be closed, and then it was literally gonna open the next day, and we weren't gonna be there. But our someone told us, it may have even been Chad and Vanessa. Someone was like, sometimes they open it early, like the night before, and they did. Like an hour before close, we ran over and did SheiKra at night. So.
Yep, that was Chad and Vanessa, and we are grateful for it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a dedicated line for quick queue this year, not the exit. I think when we went in June, there was still the same thing that we experienced last year. Like it did funnel us into.
Yeah, I think they did.
We were able to pick whatever seat we wanted because it funneled us into the main loading bay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know what you're talking about, where they have you at the entrance instead. They used to just feed you through the back. They would tell you to go past the photos, up and around, and then just put you wherever they put you.
Yeah.
But this year, the dedicated line for quick queue, I will say it did allow for the front row for us.
It
So
did,
that
but it
might
was not.
be
But it wasn't a
experientially
short wait
consistent.
because it cut off like the front. But
That's
by
what
the
I'm
time you
saying.
get to the
That's what
cow
yeah.
pen, and it's like you're not even.
That's
skipping
the
line.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Blah. Yeah. Excited for you
Alright.
guys to ride that too.
So there are only 9 coasters at Busch Gardens Williamsburg right now.
Yes.
So we decided that we were going to talk about 2 extras that were absolute must-dos at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and only very briefly because we do have one more thing to talk about on the subject of coasters. So the bonus must-do rides at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Pompeii. This is a seasonal attraction because it is water-based. Now, if you know me, you know I hate water. I love looking at it. I love drinking it. I don't love being in a boat that splashes down into it. Hate it. But I will say, this is me advertising this ride to you. This is a phenomenal attraction that is 90% dark ride, 10% splashdown. And
It's
the
a big
dark ride,
splashdown.
it is a big splash. Like, you're not getting off this thing dry. But the dark ride is so cool and so unique and so not what you would expect, knowing that this is predominantly a coaster park, that you go through it and everything, like, there's things that pop out. It's basically Pompeii burning down. You're trying literally, it's called Escape from Pompeii.
Yeah, and it's not the volcano striking Pompeii. It's like an archaeological dig of Pompeii.
Right,
and then there's like a curse or something and it gets caught on fire.
Yeah. It's all breaking apart. There's an earthquake feature that you can feel the water splashing around and you can see the lights swinging.
There's fire.
There's fire, pyrotechnics. There's a statue that falls and almost hits you on the head.
And the music is very intimidating.
The music is very cool. Yeah. Cool. It's a really, really cool attraction that I think everyone should try at least once. If you're not a big water person, I will say you sit in the back and you cover yourself with a poncho, you will get away mostly clean.
Honestly, the splashdown is not as bad as if someone's putting money into one of the squirting machines.
The squirt guns are disastrous, and that should be illegal. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that. That should be illegal to buy. You shouldn't be able to put money into.
There is a very lovely but mischievous team member at Busch Gardens who can be found just loading the machines with quarters and telling people to use the squirt guns. So,
oops, I hit those out of order. Yeah, the original,
the actual
post volcano Pompeii,
the actual historical site.
I imagine the architecture at Escape from Pompeii is designed to mimic, so I'm sure it looks somewhat similar, but I mean,
at least thematically, you get the picture.
The thrilling experience probably can't be replicated.
Yeah, I don't think there's a big puddle of water.
But it is a super fun attraction. Like I say, guys, it's when you actually...
We did finally do the Atlantis ride at SeaWorld, which is definitely like its sister ride, but slightly different because there's actually a little bit of coaster rails on the...
It is a genuine coaster
journey into Atlantis.
I didn't want to count it as one, but then like halfway through the ride, I was like, oh no, this is a coaster. This counts.
So it was fun to compare. But yeah, solid ride.
And then this was going to be Katie's favorite to talk about.
Yeah, so I said like non-coaster. I love Finnegan's Flyers. This is in the Ireland section.
This is for
know.
Pompeii.
Oh, that's so cool, Vanessa. Or Chad. Sorry, Vanessa's got her own thing. Chad, that's so cool.
I love the grandpa face.
You're not a grandpa. You're doing
Finnegan's Flyers.
Finnegan's Flyers. Sorry.
So also a fairly new attraction.
This one was pretty new too. I know this is not a unique ride because to just Busch Gardens, because we're pretty sure we saw one at Dollywood as well. But it's like a big giant pendulum swing. And for flat rides, I don't do a lot of flat rides, but this ride, oh my gosh, I love it so much. I can't always hit.
It's got a couple of notes here.
It does not aggravate.
What do you guys have against
sickness.
fun?
If you get motion sick, you can't ride something. It's not that they're against fun. I wouldn't ride something that made me feel sick.
I'm being sarcastic.
Well, I'm being...
Stop being a baby.
I just want our friends to know I still care about them, even if they can't ride the ride.
If you guys get motion sick on swinging rides, that is a perfectly logical reason to not be swinging rides. However, this is a great attraction.
I love it. It's a good thrill for me. If you sit, my favorite place to sit is I guess on the green side that flips backwards under when you flip, you look down at like the water. I mean when you're riding this, I don't have like a pencil or anything here. So if you like, you're more than like, you're definitely looking down. So like you're sitting over here in your swing looking down. So it's a very dramatic.
There you go.
Pendulum.
This is a very important graphic representation. This will make or break the presentation for the evening.
So anyway, I think it's a lot of fun. I do not get motion sick on it, but if you do, understandably.
The only ride I've ever been truly motion sick on was the mix at Hershey Park, and that I think was largely dehydration, but that was rough.
That was rough. It did burned
too many
my
cycles,
stomach.
just too many cycles too quickly, and tight concentric circles. Yeah. But Finnegan's I can do.
Yeah.
Now there's one coaster, guys. There is one coaster that we've not talked about, and
because it doesn't exist yet.
Because no, it exists. Okay, I assure you,
it doesn't exist.
It exists.
People.
It exists. It has been already built. It's just a matter of getting the theming done. We've already seen pictures from inside the DarKoaster. So the Curse of Dark Castle. You know what? I have something for this.
Why do you have the?
Why would I talk about it when I can just show it? Obviously a graphic representation, not the actual ride. However, we have seen pictures from inside. I'm going to be a little
disappointed if I don't go in through Mr. Monster's mouth, though.
I mean, you may or may not go through the mouth, but I think the other theming elements that they showed us
frozen
in
CGI, and stuff,
the cliff hang and whatnot, they're working right now on theming. Is the only thing left to do. We've seen the actual track; it's all finished. We've seen the ride vehicles, the trains, they're all finished.
To clarify, we've seen pieces of a track that are now.
You don't watch Coaster Studios, so I don't.
You've seen the coaster track with your own eyes?
No, not with my own eyes. I've seen it in a video.
You're making me sound like you walked into the castle.
We didn't see coaster track with our own eyes either. We just seen pictures.
I didn't think we had seen it.
I swear, guys, we're a happy, loving couple. It's just that she's always wrong all the time about theme parks.
Making stuff up. Making stuff up.
I'm not making stuff up. It's built. The coaster is built. The attraction itself could run right now. It could open tomorrow with no theming. And I appreciate the fact that it's a spring 2023 opening because they're putting some time into theming.
I still think me saying it doesn't exist yet is fair,
but that's not true because we're very near to ride. We're very near to employee
We're not
rides.
Able to ride it and therefore include it in our rankings.
We can't ride it, but they've already started doing water dummy testing.
Okay, so that's still not that water dummies are not people.
Okay, so if you went to Universal's Islands of Adventure while Velocicoaster was testing, you looked at it going up the lift hill, you would tell me that doesn't exist.
Not in my ranking.
Oh my god. I hate this. Send help. DarKoaster. I think it's going to be an incredibly thrilling attraction. I think it's going to be family friendly. I think it's geared more towards.
If it's as well themed as Verbolten is and it's smoother, it might knock Verbolten down a notch. I don't know if it will be my number one.
Well, we never got to experience the Curse of Dark Castle, which was the dark ride that was originally, it was trackless and it was originally built inside.
I'm looking closer at that imagery.
Oh,
that's what I was doing. But yeah, I kind of agree with this comment from Chad. It might, I don't know if it'll probably be in the top 5 and it will.
But the thing of it is, Verbolten is my number 3. So if it's better than Verbolten, then by default, it becomes number 3.
Number 4.
Well, I can't help that. Yeah. Sorry for your loss.
It's not a loss. I feel very comfortable.
Loss for you.
I feel very comfortable with my coaster ranking.
I think DarKoaster is going to crush. I think the first of all, the ski mobile, the jet skis that were straddling.
I realize they're snowmobiles.
They're snowmobiles, but they are templated over from SeaWorld San Antonio's version of this. That's just a launch coaster that goes outside, has zero theming.
Yeah.
The theming is the train at SeaWorld San Antonio, which is why this was so easy to replicate here at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Same company, carry over in the same designs. However, I think that it works in that they've designed it to be like a story of like first of all, it's in the Germany area, but like crossing into the Alps towards Alpengeist. So this is like you come in from the cold and you find yourself in a cursed castle and you have to use the snowmobile to escape. It's also supposedly going to go around a couple times. It's not just going to be a one and done. So it might have a smaller layout overall, but it might change things up as you go through a couple different rides. So
I'm very curious and very excited.
I'm very optimistic.
Yeah.
And because we are Busch Gardens Platinum members and we plan to renew, we should get first crack at what this experience will be like.
We missed
Pantheon because we couldn't make it up, not because we weren't invited.
Yeah.
But I think that mid-April, early May is probably when they're going to open. They're just saying spring right now. And we'll have first crack at what this experience is going to be like. And we'll try to take you guys along because fortunately you can film on ride at Busch Gardens with the proper harness. So I don't know how that footage will turn out if it's all dark and inside, but I know that we're going to have a blast and we're going to bring what we can to you. So if this comes to fruition as I'm expecting it to, I think it will probably be my number 3. I don't think it's going to displace Pantheon or
I can't say I'm optimistic, but I'm just excited for it to be there. And it'll be nice to have like a rounded out like 10 coasters at Busch Gardens for sure.
Yep.
And for the Curse of Dark Castle not to just be sitting there.
That was the saddest thing for the longest time. It was just the coast.
It was nice that they didn't just tear the castle down after that ride was done. And obviously they still made use of the space, but it's nice to know it's not going to be just hollow sitting in there anymore.
So that takes us all the way through the possible 10 coaster credits at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, 9 of which you can ride today, 1 of which apparently doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist to ride for people yet. Only water dummies.
Having said all of this, guys, we do want to highlight some creators, as we often do on these live streams. Travel with Beth, I've been following on Instagram for a while, has a YouTube channel as well, which is just getting warmed up, and it's really good content. So please check her out. I believe on YouTube, it's Travel with Beth, with the spaces as illustrated here. And on Instagram, it's just Travel with Beth, like all one word. Same for the DAK guy, but only with Instagram. It's the DAK guy, one word. And the reason I like this account and follow it religiously is because DAK stands for Disney's Animal Kingdom, which is our favorite Disney park in Florida.
World Park.
World Park. So we love looking at all the pictures from that park. It's probably, I will say, it's probably the most beautiful park that we've ever been to so far. There's no comparing it to Disneyland. And then Creatively Audrey has a YouTube and Instagram account, does a lot of traveling and a lot of crafting. She's a Etsy hand, much like our friend April from Thrifty Nerdy Mom.
I love our crafty YouTubers.
Also, yes, also super good at putting together content, especially Disney content. So as we head away from Halloween and into the non-spooky season, we are going to be looking more at Disney parks and happier, lighter fare attractions. So all of you who have not been enduring spooky season well, we are grateful you stood along for the ride, and we are happy to bring back content that excites you. Also, Tyler Silva.
Hello.
Happy
November. Yesterday was
Halloween. Was indeed Halloween.
And it was a great time.
Since you brought it up, I will put this up one more time.
Yay!
Not a lot of people got a chance to see our Halloween costumes. I'm broadcasting it live.
We got the teeth from Spirit Halloween.
We got everything from Spirit
They were $5 and they worked out pretty well.
Yeah. So same teeth that were used at SeaWorld's Hall of Scream event.
Yeah, I ain't mad about them.
So our next live stream, for those who are interested, we're going to be talking about the greatest debate. You think tonight was about fights? You think we got into it tonight with each other? Get ready, because Universal versus Disney is our next live stream.
This is going to be tough.
So I want to be clear, when we go into the Universal versus Disney debate, we're going to be talking about everything that would conceivably make one park better, more valuable, or more approachable than the other to people like us. We consider ourselves to be middle class, but there are families that are in our same income bracket who would have a much harder time distributing
because we're only two.
Because we're only two, and if you have like 3 kids, it's much harder to spread out that budget. So looking at value, looking at what you get out of the day, looking at all the different things that make a Disney or Universal vacation valuable and exciting and a bold, brand new experience for people who are going for the first time. Which set of parks, or which resort is going to be more worth it? There's a lot to go into there. We've talked about some of it before, but we really want to unpack this and give people a chance to voice
He wants to unpack it. I am scared.
There's a lot. I mean, Disney has been going through a lot of price increases recently. Universal has been opening a lot of new attractions recently. There's experiences that are very much changed from when the park started reopening in 2020. Yeah. And we do have an axe to grind in some regards, and we do have an opinion, but it is only an opinion. We're going to lay out the facts, and everyone is welcome to weigh in. I agree with Vanessa. They are both very different.
And we also agree with that too.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Also,
thanks, Donna. Thanks. We had fun. Vampires. Yes.
We will unpack this. Yes,
we know
but this is a conversation.
You're not a thrill seeker.
We definitely do not have time to pack that in tonight. So for tonight, guys, I do want to say thank you all for joining. We appreciate it. Thank you, those of you who are not spooky enthusiasts, for checking out our spooky content. We love spooky season. We are sad to see it go, but there are more exciting.
I was wearing my only Busch Garden shirt today, in case you couldn't see it.
I was wearing Halloween Horror Nights and the Wolfman because I'm basic like that, and I miss spooky season already.
I was gonna wear another spooky season shirt, and I was like, I do have one Busch Garden shirt. I should probably.
There is non-spooky content coming that we're very, very excited about, and stick around, guys. We are going to announce in the coming weeks what our travel plans are for the end of 2022, big trip planned, and heading into 2023. All in due time. Until then, I'm Tim.
I'm mostly Katie.
And every night
is a new adventure.
We will see you next time. Thank you all for joining. We love you.
Bye. Bye.